Hello everyone and welcome back to the Belgian Beer Brothers channel. I am Cedric and today we are gonna talk about another Belgian beer. We had the Italian one on Wednesday and today we will talk about Viven. Some of you may know this as Viven, but trust me, it is Viven. And we'll talk about the Viven barley wine. Now, first off, let's talk about the brewery. Viven Brewery is a story that has been going on for about 22, 23 years now. And it's a brewery with some history. Not spectacular stories or anything. And they are a brewery that are doing very well, and they actually develop their beers on location and then have it brewed in large quantities at the Brew in Locristi, Ghent. But all R&D and all experiments are happening in their own brewery. Now, originally in 1999, Willy de Lobbel started brewing a tribute to Viven Capella in Bruges, and that's actually where the name of the brewery came from. The Kapel van Viven, or the Viven Chapel, was the name of the first beer that Willy brewed, and it was a big hit locally. The beer actually still exists, but now it's called Original Blonde by Viven. And it is a 6.1% ABV blonde beer, and quite a good one as well. As I said, locally it was a big hit. The local bars and pubs bought it and sold it, and Willy had some work. 2 years later, in 2001, Willy added a brown variant called Klooster van Viven, or the Viven Cloister. As the name suggests, it's a brown beer, and it's a rather light brown beer. It's a 6.5% ABV. That beer also is still in existence, and currently it's called the Classic Brown. So we have the Original Blonde and the Classic Brown, and those were the beers that actually started the whole Viven story in Viven Capella. Now, in 2005, Willy, who actually just started it as a hobby project, something on the side, he quits, but unfortunately he has no succession, no children that want to take over, and this guy Tony, who works at the drink service Tram, buys the brewery and actually rebrands it. He calls the brewery Viven Brewery, and he rebrands the beers, as I just told you, to Original Blonde and Classic Brown. A bit later, 2 years later to be exact, in 2007, Tony teams up with Dirk Nouts, and Dirk Nouts is a huge name in the Belgian beer world, and actually globally as well. Dirk Nouts is the big man behind the Proefbrouwerij, the tasting brewery, or the actually more the trying brewery in Locristi in Ghent, and they team up to develop some new UK inspired beers, the Viven Ale, the Porter, Imperial IPA, things like that. Pardon me. And they start experimenting, they start brewing, all goes well. And it goes on for several years. As I said, they experiment at home, they brew at the Proefbrouwerij. And then there's a big gap in history until 2015. Tony's wife, Crystal, joins the brewery and actually develops the Master IPA as a tribute to Tony's grandparents. Now, who would have known that Tony buys a brewery, and of all people, his wife turns out to be a great awesome brewer. She loves to experiment, she loves to try out things, and apparently she's lucky as well as very talented, because yeah, a lot of their experiments turn out pretty great. Of course, they experiment a lot and they know that. So it's also a numbers game. In 2017, Experimentum is born. And Experimentum is actually sort of an experimental program, let's say, where every month they brew a new beer and local pubs get a chance to taste, or at least their customers get a chance to taste the beer, give feedback, and then the beers are fine-tuned. Of course, a bad beer never leaves the brewery, but the beers from the Momentum or the Experimentum program are either discontinued or fine-tuned to get even better. And after they're fine-tuned, they commercialize the beers. In 2018, again, a lot of renewal in the brewery. And I say again because in 2015, when Crystal joined, they built a new brewing house in Säsele to be able to experiment more, and that's actually what kicked off the Experimentum series. So in 2018, again, a lot of renewal in the brewery, and now an automatic 12 hectoliter installation is built. 12 hectoliters, that's 1200 liters, that is 1.2 metric cube. That's quite a bit. 1200 liters, as most homebrewers brew somewhere between 10 and 60 liters. Yeah, that's huge. And then in 2019 they start off the Viven Craft series. They started off with 4 beers from the Experimentum series. So yeah, something commercial, something nice comes out of it. And those 4 were the Premium Triple, the Barley Wine, which we're gonna taste today, the Spiced Ambré, and the New England IPA. So yeah, without Crystal and without the Experimentum program, the Barley Wine most likely wouldn't have existed. And today we have the chance to taste one. Also in 2019, Viven wins their first award with their Champagne Weisse. It strikes me as odd that an experimental brewery with so many beers and so many lovely beers actually never took part in many contests and festivals. I don't know what's the reason for that. They didn't care, or they didn't want to step into the competitive circuit. I don't know. All I know is that in 2019 they won the award with the Champagne Weisse, and yeah, they should have won a lot more in my opinion. Now today we are going to taste the Barley Wine from the Viven Craft series. First off, let me read this bottle here, because it says something about the craft series and the brewery. The Viven Craft Collection. Viven Brewery is a small family brewery situated in the little town of Damme and is specialized in applying the art of Belgian brewing onto international beer styles. Crystal, one of the few female Belgian brewers, has put her heart and soul into the beer inside this bottle. So enjoy. Well, Crystal, I guess we will. Again, barley wine, sweet dark beer with the taste of ripe dried fruit. Of course, product of Belgium. Now, let's get into what a barley wine actually is. There is a lot of discussion on this topic. Honestly, I am not 100% clear on this as well. But basically, a barley wine is just a strong top fermented beer. And in some books, you'll read, barley wine is not to be confused with quadruple. There are differences. and I have not yet found one book that actually explains these differences to me. Basically, they all tell me that wine refers to the alcohol content, which is somewhere between 8.5 or 9 and 12 to even 15% ABV. So yeah, it is a very strong beer. Of course, it is top fermented. With a bottom fermented beer, yeah, we wouldn't get those alcohol values. And this kind of beer, or the barley wine, mainly as a name, mainly occurs in the UK and the USA. And there are some differences between those. Namely that in the US, they'll be a bit more bitter, a bit more hoppy, and in the UK it would be less bitter and less hop aromatic. Also in the US they will be darker, in the UK it will be more amber colored. All details. On the other hand, I have found some books that specialize in special Belgian beers, not to be confused with the Special Belge, that's a whole another style, but in Belgian specialty beers and craft beers. And what do I find there? Sint Bernardus Abt 12, which is actually a quadruple, is named as a barley wine there. I have seen Dutch beers like the La Trappe quadruple, which is one of my favorites, named as a barley wine. So yeah, I can't tell you. Is a barley wine and a quadruple very different? I will let you know when I find out myself. But I can tell you, after 15 years in beer, I haven't found it yet. Anywho, so this is a strong top fermented beer, barley wine, because it's it has the alcohol content of a wine, but it's not made of fruit, it's made of barley, so barley wine. We also have wheat wines, those are very let's say rare. What else is typical for this style of beer? Well, it's the taste. It has a very full-bodied alcoholic mouthfeel, and it tastes mostly very malty, very sweet quite often, sometimes a bit dry. Oftentimes it has an aftertaste of dried fruit, very alcoholic, sometimes a bit vinous, a bit sherry or wine like. Sometimes some diacetyl, which gives a greasy, buttery taste and feel, and often hints of bread. So yeah, grainy and malty all the way. Enough talk about that. Let's taste this. Now, many of you will have heard the name barley wine somewhere because it has been introduced. I'm not sure, but I think the very first one on the record is the base number 1 barley wine. And I think that was introduced somewhere around 1870, 1875. Don't pin me on that number. And I think in the 40s or 50s there was Old Foghorn. There has been Whitbread. I just realized that I have a base black right here. Anywho, Whitbread had a very well-known barley wine. So yeah, somewhere in the last 150 years you might have heard the name. Wow, I haven't been near the bottle and I already get aromas in the nose. Very strong, very malty, very alcoholic. Breath is indeed very present. A bit vinous, sweet, slightly bitter in the nose. Actually fascinating what you can get out of the scent of something. I already find this a lovely, lovely color. There's a tiny hint of yeast in there, but it's mainly a, yeah, let's say a caramel colored, a bit reddish amber. Reminds me of the Rolling Stones with the brown sugar. And a nice head of foam, very tiny bubbles, very dense. Yeah, again, very bready, alcoholic, a bit vinous. Honestly, not my favorite smells in beer. Slightly sour hint, which is not what I expect in a barley wine. By the way, if you were wondering, this is an 11% ABV, so not the strongest, also not the lightest. This is a very, very average barley wine. Yeah. Immediately I do get the breadth and the alcohol. Those are the main components of the flavor palette here. And it kind of reminds me, because it's also very sweet, if you take like a piece of bread, put butter on it, and then brown sugar on top, that's the taste I'm getting, like the very first one. Also, in the aftertaste, I still taste some like warm fresh bread and alcohol, a lot of alcohol. The smell is more wine-like, more vinous. It's also a tiny bit in the aftertaste, but in the initial flavor profile I don't get some wine flavors or sherry flavors or anything, so that's just the scent. And I just said like bread with butter and sugar. I'm not 100% sure, but I do seem to get some diacetyl in the nose, which does cause a slightly buttery flavor, so could be. And honestly, I don't mind that. I know people that actually pour their beer in the sink when they smell or taste diacetyl. I actually buy Witcap Pater Stimulo because it has a lot of diacetyl. I actually like that taste. And some people call it a brewing mistake, but if you can deliver a beer with that taste consistently, that's not a mistake. You can tell that this has gone through a process of feedback and refinement, as Crystal says about the experimental series. And it is a beautiful beer, a lovely beer. But I can tell you right now that I am gonna stick with one, and probably after that I will drink something lighter or drier to wash it away. Not that it's bad, but it's just, one is good, one's alright. What I often do these times is drink something special, sometimes something sweet, sometimes something strong, and then I wash it away with a nice dry, well-fermented saison or a farmhouse ale, which really cleans out your palate. I believe this Saturday I had a Liefmans pale sour, very sour, leaning towards the Geus, and I cleaned it out with a Tank 7. Alright, I do feel that this is a beer that I will have to savor in a longer period of time. This is not a chugging beer, so I will not do that. And I don't think that I can talk about it for as long as I will be drinking it. So I'm gonna quit here, enjoy this a bit further, and I'll get back to you guys on Sunday. So, as usual, if you like this video or if you have any more questions, remarks, tips, hints, have you tried it yourself? Do you know any good barley ones that I should try? Comment down below. If you liked the video, yeah, hit like. If you disliked it, don't do anything. Nah, just dislike it. And if you want to see more, yeah, subscribe and hit the bell icon so you'll get notified whenever I upload something. And I hope that you will enjoy the other videos. I might do another book review soon, and yeah, some things are in the making. You'll see about that. So yeah, I'll leave you with that. Cheers, you guys. Hope you're enjoying your own beer. And I'll see you back on Sunday.